Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. As I said in the past, you never see these in the sequence they're recorded. This is the last one I'm going to record today because I can feel my voice going and it's getting a bit nippy out here. And I can't have the heater going while I'm recording because otherwise all you get is on the audio track, which is a bit of a pain. I wish they invented something with a silent fan, but the reality is nothing has a silent fan in terms of heating. Anyway, this next comment or question comes from Stuart Murphy, and this is in response to upgrading the rolling drivers for Catalina version 10.5, a video I did in January 2020. And Stuart writes, "Hi John, I'm awfully sorry to bother you." Well, actually, it's no bother whatsoever. I'm a touring pro stage guitarist. I use an old Roland M-16DX mixer on stage for its convenient hybrid analog and digital features. Anyway, I noticed you greatly assisted someone else further down in the comments here regarding this mixer. In fact, it was great advice, and I haven't seen it anywhere else on the net, to be honest. Well, thank you very much. I try always to give relevant advice, or say I don't know. My situation differs in that I know I can't upgrade to the 64 OS Catalina, so I'm staying on 32-bit High Sierra for as long as I can. But even so, the M-16DX software loads fine seemingly, but plugging it in the mixer into the USB port of my MacBook Pro, a mid-2012 model, it has stopped working. This happened when I moved from High Sierra to High Sierra, and it's too traumatic rolling back the Apple OS. God, it is. God, I really, really feel your pain. Honestly, I really, really feel your pain. So I'm kind of stuck on High Sierra for now. I just get an error message when I load the software saying mixer hasn't been found. And then I fire it up next time and it detects it. Sorry, I should say that. Then it says it will fire up next time and should detect it. Of course, it never does. But it's too tempting to give up on. I don't suppose the install helper program you mentioned would help this at all. I love any advice you can offer on this subject. But all good if you're busy or too busy to respond. Well, you know, yes, it may take me a few days to respond to your queries, or several weeks in some instances, but I do respond to all the queries that actually have some substance to them on the channel. I know it takes a lot of time, but that's my policy. If you've asked me a question, I think it's only fair that I respond to you. So I basically, when I responded to this, I had a look at the Roland website, and I can see that the last update for your particular mixer was for 10.9, which was Maverick, and a High Sierra is 10.13, which is basically 4 versions on of the Mac OS software. And the problem is that we really do not know what changes Apple has made in implementing between the various versions of the software. Now, there are many articles making reference to the fact that applications had issues with APFS, although I can't see why APSF would interfere with what you're actually doing in terms of the audio drivers. And I'm going to be honest, this type of issue really kind of annoys me. It really does annoy me. As you have invested in the hardware, but the manufacturer has basically given up on support of the software for the device. And I find this really disconcerting, upsetting. They're perfectly prepared to take your money, but they're not prepared to, support you, especially when things like major upgrades between 64-bit and 32-bit drivers. For them, it would not cost them very much to do a 64-bit driver. And I've said this before, but they've taken a stance and they refuse to do it. Now, I'm going to be honest and say there are some Mickey Mouse questions that you probably need to just run through. Following the upgrade to High Sierra, are you sure that the USB ports on the Mac are working? I know it sounds stupid and trivial, but I have seen Mac USB ports be disabled. Have you tried it on many of the other USB ports? So if I remember correctly, a 2012 model would have 4 USB ports. On the 2 on the right and the 2 on the left are driven by different buses, different USB buses. So try it on either side. Are you sure the cable is still good? Now that sounds a really Mickey Mouse one, but I've actually personally experienced the fact that I've used the cable and the device wouldn't work. Changed the cable to a more expensive cable, and lo and behold, the device works. Read into that what you will, but what I would say is don't buy cheap cables. Are you connecting through a hub, or are you connecting to another device? In which case, have you tried a direct connection? Are you plugging it direct? For some ideas, you plug it into a hub because you don't have enough USB ports. But are you plugging it directly into the computer? Because that might be your problem. Is the SMC in an error state? So you need to look on the internet to find out how to reset this and if NV RAM is required. Okay, I'm not going to go into that. Go and look on the internet for those things. But if the SMC is in an error state, that could definitely be affecting your problem, and you just need to run it. And the final thing is, have you run the Mac diagnostics to see if that flags up any issues with your hardware configuration? If you've looked into all those areas, and that's by no means a definitive list, it's kind of my Mickey Mouse where I would start, then you're probably going to the route of Roland customer support, because High Sierra should have still supported, excuse me, I've got the hiccups, 32-bit devices, or 32-bit drivers, should I say. And if it doesn't, then I go down Roland support, because they should still be supporting. They probably turn around and say the last supported version was 10.9. Anyway, the reply came back: Champion, thanks so much for the advice. Yes, did 1 through 5. First up, no problem anywhere. Just lack of Roland upgrade support. It's cool, mate. I've actually got 2 internal 1TB SATA drives in my old MacBook Pro. So I'll reinstall Maverick on the second one and run it from there. Easy solution, best of both worlds. Upgrading Mac on one and an older version on the other with Roland drivers that work flawlessly like they used to. Now, I've got to be honest and say that I bought a new Mac last year, as people know. I think I mentioned it on the channel. But I haven't got rid of my old Mac, and my old Mac is still running an old version of Mac OS. It still runs perfectly well. It's being used by one of the housemates as their computer at the moment. Does everything they need it to do with very little fuss and issue. It is now 3 or 4 versions out of support. And on that note, I say, see you later. Bye bye.